Hello, good evening. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Phoebe. Welcome to my channel. And today is day 15 of the 30-day English reading challenge with Phoebe. You may be surprised because now it's 8 p.m. my time, and usually this time I'll be having classes teaching English. But luckily, I don't know, sure say luckily, but like it just happened that my students they are busy today, so I'm free up myself, so I'm free right now. And um, you may know that it's been more than 2 weeks that I stopped the challenge for some times. I need to say that because I was too busy with my work. I was too busy with my teaching, and lucky me too now that I can manage some time for this challenge. And whenever I think about this 30-day English challenge, for me it's a very great experience that I can like immerse myself with the reading in CNN, very useful and very up to date, and with news with amazing vocabularies. And by skipping it for weeks, I feel so unfortunate. I feel so sorry for myself because it's nothing rather than just a self-studying process. And I feel so sad that s- I cannot save some time for myself. But like at the same time, I feel good because like I can arrange my time to support others who are less disadvantaged, who are needing more from me, and I can support others. So at the end of the day, I think it's still quite good, and uh, I'll be trying my best. I'll be trying my best. Like whenever I can arrange, sometimes I'll be taking this challenge. So hopefully that I can have at least. I'm not quite sure. Like I can. I cannot say for sure that I can manage to complete the last 16 session uh, in the next 16 days. But like whenever I have time, sure, I will prioritize for this activity. And yeah, it's very useful. It's very helpful. Like trust me, if you ever if you ever never think about it, thoughts about it before, and you want to improve your English speaking skills, you want to improve your reading skills, if you want to improve your cohesion, your fluency, your everything, so English related for sure, take this challenge like me. So it's only me here. Are you guys missing me? How are you? Today's Monday, the August 9, 2021. And it feels so good after a very long working day today. Like I find a new definition. I think I do not I maybe last week or last 2 weeks, I found a very uh, interesting definition of success. Success is just you have tried your best. That's it. So simple, right? It it will not be counted like how many trophies are you having, how many prizes you are holding. It's not measured by your salary, by your position, but success instead, it's just by like how you dedicated yourself into the actions to complete one single task. That's it. So so to me, so far for today, I don't know if whenever I be a successful person, or I will manage to lead the projects go in a very good way. I don't know. But for today, for all the tasks I listed in my to-do list, I have spent all my heart, spent all my effort to complete it. So I'm proud of myself. And to me, that's success. That's the success. This is a very simple definition of success. It's your let me read through the exact definition of the success here. Success is peace of mind in knowing you've done your best. Success is peace of mind in knowing you've done your best. You've done your best. Success is peace of mind knowing you've done your best. Okay, so stay safe for COVID-19 and be going back to our challenge. Of course, CNA. So my fault. Ah, I think recently, well, there will be news about the Olympics because the the like Japan douses the Olympic light. I think just yesterday is the ceremony, is the remark ceremony of the Olympic 2020 in Tokyo. So I think the news will be around the Olympics for sure, for the COVID-19, for the march or the demonstration in Thailand, for the flooding in UK, and for the COVID-19, of course, in Singapore. So that's my guess about what will be the headlines for today. So let's go to CNO together, my favorite of all time. How are you? Are you having fun with me right now? How are you? Okay. CNA for sure. You cannot see it. Sorry. Yeah, you can see the logo. It's a triangle in red. This is from CNA. So, top stories. Quiet but dignified National Day ceremonial parade marks Singapore's 56th birthday amid tightened COVID-19 measures. Good. Watch Singapore's National Day ceremonial parade. 69 new locally transmitted COVID-19 cases in Singapore, including 20 unlinked infections. United Nations sounds clarion call over humans irreversible impact on climate. Climate report must be dead now. Climate report must be dead now for fossil fuels. UN chief. No good news here. No good news here. Key IPCC findings on climate change. How to deal with eczema. Does skipping seafood help? Are essential oils effective? Singapore studies UN's latest climate change report as it continues to plan and implement adaptation measures. My bosses are taking COVID-19 lightly. Some Jakarta employees told to work in office despite COVID-19 curbs. The big rate after more than 500 days. Home remains a bridge. Home remains a bridge too far. For home remains a bridge too far for Malaysians stuck in Singapore. Pregnant COVID-19 positive Malaysian singer Siti Sarah Rasadun dies. Brunei sees record COVID-19 cases after first local infections in 15 months. Hundreds of Philippine hospitals near full capacity as COVID-19 cases surge. Indonesia president to review COVID-19 curbs as regional cases surge. Commentary: Singaporeans are proving you can grow your vegetables and eat them too. COVID-19 antigen rapid testing to be made mandatory for construction industry, including non-dome workers. Okay, so that's the top stories, and let's have a look at the latest news. Latest news for the world: massive public pressure needed to galvanize climate fight. Thunberg. India's equity mutual funds India's equity mutual funds show record in inflows in July. India to require refiners, fertilizer plants to use some green hydrogen. Sri Lanka holds mass cremations as COVID-19 cases surge. Brunei sees record COVID-19 cases after first local infections in 15 months. South Korea and US to begin preliminary military exercises on Tuesday. Report. Telecom Italy's FiberCorp and Iliad on fiber broadband deal. Italian police bats fake COVID-19 health pass scheme on Telegram app. Italian police bats fake health pass scheme on Telegram app to save the planet. Focus on cutting methane. UN climate report. Soccer, more problems for Barca as Aguero ruled out for 10 weeks. France's COVID-19 pass now required in restaurants, trains. China Evergrande in sale talks over EV property extension projects. India considers sharp import tax cuts on EVs after Tesla lobbying. Exclusive. India considers sharp something. World leaders, scientists react to landmark UN climate science report. So a lot. I will come back to top stories. I'll be picking up three three. The first one is about the climate change for sure. I forgot about that. Like speaking of flooding or catastrophe, about the wildfire in Canada and the U.S. Speaking of the torrential rains in China and the UK and Germany and many other European countries. And speaking of this, we cannot, yeah. So climate change is a very hot topic right now, and it's a surprise to me that there's no top stories. There's no top stories about the Olympics. So I think it should be nice. It should be okay. The second peak, the second peak will be about India and their equity because I have no idea about equity tax cuts. Okay, so that's about India. And the third one will be I'm curious about Jakarta because like um yeah, I'm so worried. Yeah, no. I've been spending some time, spending some time for sure for the National Day ceremonial parade. I miss my heart is with Singapore right now. Like I'm a huge fan. I remember Chinatown, the front harbor, about the Gardens by the Bay, about all the sub trains, sub lines, about the about the hospitals, the food. I'm a huge fan, so yeah, why not? Why not? Starting quiet but dignified National Day ceremonial parade marks Singapore's 56th birthday amid tightened COVID-19 measures. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, Singapore. So quiet but dignified. What does dignified? stately. Wow, dignified. Having or showing a composed or serious manner that is worthy of respect, dignified, make something worthy and impress. Having or showing dignified silence, dignified old lady, dignified, having or showing a composed or serious manner that is worthy or respect. Okay. Trang nghiêm, dignified, cao quý trang nghiêm, dignified bow, quiet but dignified. Ah, dignified is very dignified. So whenever I think about dignified, I remember that the parade and dignified, ceremonial. How do you spell it? Ceremonial. Okay. A quiet, a quiet sense of pride, a quiet sense of pride hung in the air at a ceremonial parade marking National Day on Monday, August 9. A pat back celebration in line with tightened public health measures. A pat back, trim, cutting away, reduce, period. How do you spell it? Peer, pet, a pat back. A pat back celebration in line with tightened public health measures. The float, the float at Marine Bay hosted around 100 spectators, including cabinet ministers, members of parliament, and frontline workers, a far cry from the 27,000 people that the venue can typically accommodate spectators. Oh, spectator. Oh, okay, a spectator. Its synonym is a person who watches at a show, game, or other event. Spectator, watcher, commentator, reporter, monitor, onlooker, beholder, participant, spectator. The float at Marine Bay hosted around 100 spectators, including cabinet ministers, members of parliament, and frontline workers, a far cry from the 27,000 people that the venue can typically accommodate. The sparkling bay also formed the backdrop for 600. The sparkling bay also formed the backdrop for 600 parade participants from the Singapore Armed Forces, SAF, and the home team, a figure less than a third, of what previous parades at the float have seen. These reduced headcounts were among a slew of safety measures taken. These reduced headcounts were among a slew of safety measures taken as the country marked its 56th year of independence amid a protracted battle against COVID-19. These reduced headcounts were among a slew, a slew, no, and nuat, the slew, Kill? Ah, were among a slew. What does were among were among were among a slew of safety measures? So, quite bad. Were among a slew of safety measures taken as the country mocked amid a protracted, prolonged, wants to prolong, protracted, lasting for a long time or longer than expected or usual. Protracted, the tract, protracted battle against COVID-19. Simple but proud ceremonial parade. At the ceremonial parade, an iconic part of National Day celebrations, a video montage, a parade, video montage, a montage of parade participants kicked off proceedings. An icon part, iconic, the iconic montage, montage, montage. The process of technique of selecting or editing a sequence of film made using technique of montage. A video montage of parade participants kicked off proceedings. Um, steps. Okay. As contingents, as contingents must, as contingents march onto the floating platform under the blazing morning sun. They were, for the first time, joined by 200 participants virtually. This included members of uniformed groups from 9 secondary schools, as well as 12 social and economic organizations, such as Singapore Airlines and Families for Life. As contingents, subject a group of people united by some common feature, forming part of a larger group, a contingent of Japanese businessmen attending a conference. A group of people united by some common feature, forming part of a larger group. I see. Contingent, contingent. Sometimes it's yeah. It's subject to change. Subject to change. Tinker. Yeah, I remember about the contingent fee. So whenever we do the startup, we care about the contingent fee as well. It's like the backup money that can spend for any ad hoc activities. So that in this case, the contingency can be understood that way. But in this news in this article, the contingent is a group of people united together because they have the same or the common in features. So yeah, we understand it should be understood in that way. A group of people united by some common feature, forming part of a larger group. Hmm. As contingents marched onto the floating platform under the blazing morning sun. Blazing morning sun. They were, for the first time, joined by 200 participants virtually. These included members of uniformed groups from nine secondary schools, as well as 12 social and economic organizations such as Singapore Airlines and Families of Life. Parade Commander Lieutenant Colonel Parade Commander Tang Wei Go then led four guard of honor contingents onto the tarmac. Members of each contingent standing at least a meter apart donned one mask with their uniforms. Led four guard of honor contingents onto the tarmac. Tarmac? What's that? Onto the tarmac? A runway. Material used for surfacing roads or other outdoor areas. Crushed road mix. Dài. Onto the tarmac, members standing at least don't put on put on an item of clothing, don't wear masks with their uniforms. Following the arrival of Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, band the combined band then played a rendition of this year's National Day theme song, The Road Ahead, to enthusiastic applause from the small group of spectators present. Shortly after President Halimah Yacob arrived, as she stood on the podium, the national anthem began playing. Also the cue for the state also the cue for the state flag passed. So rendition, the performance played a performance. Stood on the podium on the stage. At the podium, the national anthem began playing. Also the cue signal or the cue for the state flag passed. In what has become for many a defining image of National Day, a Chinook helicopter flew over the cityscape with the Singapore flag billowing in the wind, while two Apache helicopters trailed behind it. Those at home also got a chance to catch the helicopters as they flew across the eastern and western parts of the island. Billowing, filled with air and swelling outward. Billowing, billow. Rolling, filled with air and swelling outward. Billowing. Flying, instead of saying that the flag is flying, they can say that the flag is billowing. I like it. Billowy. In what has become for many a defining image of National Day, a Chinook helicopter flew over the cityscape with the Singapore flag billowing in the wind, while two Apache helicopters trailed behind it. Those at home also got a chance to catch the helicopters as they flew across the eastern and western parts of the islands. Oh, so nice. Crowded, crowd favorite fighter, crowned favorite fighter jets. They made an appearance, roaring over the bay in a delta formation at speeds of more than 600 km per hour before heading into the heartlands. Organizers said that the close formation represented how Singaporeans with collective strength, resolve and unity will always forge ahead amid challenging circumstances as one united people. Organizers said that the close formation represented how Singaporeans, with collective strength, resolve, and unity, will always forge the close formation, forge, grow, make a shape, forge, move forward gradually and steadily, forge ahead, take the lead, or make good progress, move forward gradually and steadily. Nice. Will move forward steadily and gradually. As MD Halima inspected the parade, a series of shots boomed from 25 powder guns unwrapped in the bay, creating billows of smoke over the water. Returning to the podium, she then watched on as guard of honor contingents aimed their guns to the sky and fired off a cascade of shots that resounded through the empty stands as contingents then marched off. The ceremonial parade, simple but dignified, came to a close. The morning parades will be complemented by a night concert, by concert, held by the Gardens by the Bay and MediaCorp at 8 p.m. It will be available for viewing on television online channels. The National Day Parade itself will take place on August 21st after the scheduled end of Phase 2 heightened alert. Okay, thanks. That's for us. So, first of all, I want to say happy birthday to Singapore. May God be with you. So, what I can learn from here, and or now I can understand that the Independence Day I can learn the Independence Day of Singapore is on the August 9. So the Independence Day for China is on the October 1st. For Vietnam, it's September 2nd. For US, it's July 14th. For Japan, it's February 11th. That's my birthday as well. So that's the first information that I can get from this article. The second information is that the way some new words about the contingents in the past, maybe I will be using like the group of people doing the march, doing the marching, the group A, group B. So no, instead of saying the group, we can see that the contingent. We'll see the contingent doing the marching off, on and off. That's for the contingent. And the third thing is about like it's simple, right? The ceremonial parade is so simple but dignified. Dignified. Yeah. So whenever in the future I think about a contingent of soldiers marching for example, for marching for a parade for Independence Day, I will use the word dignified to describe that how they look and their attitude, their. Yep. So, and Back then in 2019, I think this time I was in Singapore as well. In 2019, I was in Singapore myself alone, and I before or after the day, then like I heard people say that they'll be having the fireworks, having all kind of activities to celebrate the Independence Day, and I cannot believe that COVID-19 will happen, and it was like more than 2 years that I haven't been abroad. So I miss Thailand, I miss Singapore, I miss Malaysia. So in the future, in the renewed future, when we open the borders again, out the borders again, be back to see Thailand first. So thank you and happy birthday. So that's for the Singapore's National Day ceremonial parade. And of course, I want to read about the climate change. United Nations sounds clarion call over South Clarion call over humans' irreversible impact on climate. South Clarion like desperated. South Clarion. Ooh. South Clarion call. South Clarion call over humans irreversible. Không thể irreversible, không thể đảo ngược lại, reversible, irreversible, irreversible impact on climate. Wildfires on the Greek islands of Elviva have charred pine forests, destroyed homes, and forced tourists and locals to flee. The United Nations panel on climate change sounded a dire warning on sounds really. Oh Jesus, really? Like sounds here is a verb. Sounds here is a verb. And clarion call. Clarion call. So clarion here is an adjective for the call. So sounds clarion call over humans' irreversible impact on climate. Jesus, clarion. The UN panel on climate change sounded a dire. Sounded so sound. So it's not only a noun, but it's a verb as well. Panel on climate change sounded a dire warning on Monday, August 9, saying the world is dangerously close to runaway warming and that humans are unequivocally to blame. Sounded of dire, terrible, urgent, dire, terrible, urgent, frightful, awful, horrible, grim, dire. Panel on climate change sounded a dire warning. So instead of a very like urgent alert or very like uh um remarkable or attentive warning, they say a dire warning. Repeat after me, a dire warning. On Monday, August 9, saying the world is dangerously close to runaway warming, saying the world is dangerously close to runaway warming, and that humans are unequivocally to blame. unequivocally, clearly, definitely, explicitly, indisputably, obviously, plainly, unambiguously, undeniably, yeah, unequivocally, undeniably, or like clearly, obviously, to blame. Already, greenhouse gas, greenhouse gas levels in the atmosphere are high enough to guarantee climate disruptions, for decades, if not centuries. Scientists warn in a report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. That's on top of the deadly heat waves. That's on top of the deadly heat waves, gargantuan hurricanes. That's on top of the deadly heat waves, gargantuan hurricanes, and other weather extremes that are happening now and are likely to become more severe. I think it's just an adjective, enormous. So it's gargantuan, 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 enormous hurricanes, describing the report as a code red for humanity, describing the report as a code red for humanity. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged an end urged an end to the use of coal, and other highly polluting fossil fuels. The alarm bells are deafening, urge an end to the use of core, core, coal, core, coal, coal, core, coal, core, coal, core, coal, core, coal, core of the core of the core, and other highly polluting fossil fuels. The alarm bells are very loud, deafening. The alarm bells are deafening. I look like a mess. I'm sorry. It's the fan is just, you can see the wind, right? It goes directly to my face, so I cannot control my hair. Deafening, very loud. The alarm bells are deafening. The alarm bells are deafening, very loud. Chói tai. The alarm bells are deafening. Deaf? Deaf is like when you said, are you deaf? Right? Deaf, blind, and câm là gì? Dumb, dumb. So deafening, chói tai. Deafening. Oh, the noise is so deafening. The noise is so deafening. I cannot hear anything because it's too loud. It's too loud. Like she's so noisy. Instead of saying like she's too noisy, you know what to say? You say she's so deafening. She is so deafening. Yeah. Gatturis said in a statement, this report must sound a deaf must sound is a verb instead of speak. Yeah, like here. the UN panel of climate change, instead of like given a dire warning or spoke a dire warning, um, dire warning, terrible, urgent, terrible, sounded. So what does it mean? Is there a verb? Emit or cause to emit, convey, convey a specified impression when heard, convey. The alarm bells are deafening. The report must sound a death now. The report must sound a death. The report must sound a death knell. Sound a death knell. No. Ah, an end. An end. Knell. The sound of a bell, especially when rung solemnly for death. Oh, this report must sound a death knell. Wow, the way this uses so picturesque, so beautiful. I love the way they describe any sentence in a very poetic way. Like you can, like in metaphoric way. Like whenever they use it, like you can have the image in your mind about it. Like for example, here, this report must sound a death knell. This report must sound a death knell for coal and fossil fuels before they destroy our planet. The IPCC report comes just 3 months before a major UN climate conference known as COP26 in Glasgow, Scotland, where nations will be under pressure to pledge much more ambitious climate action and substantial financing to go with it, drawing on more than 14,000 scientific studies. The report gives the most comprehensive and detailed picture yet of how climate change is altering the natural world and what could still be ahead unless immediate rapid and large-scale action is taken to reduce emissions. The report says the average global temperature is likely to cross the 1.5 degrees Celsius warming threshold within the next 20 years. So far, nations pledges to cut emissions have been inadequate. Of solemn, lời hứa là cam kết. Nations pledges to cut emissions have been inadequate for bringing down the level of greenhouse gases accumulated in the atmosphere. Governments and campaigners reacted to the findings with alarm. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, whose country will host the climate conference, said the next decade will be pivotal to securing the future of our planet. I hope today's IPCC report will be a wake up call for the world to take action now before the meet in Glasgow in November for the critical COP26 summit. Irreversible change, irreversible change. Emissions, unequivocally, emissions unequivocally unequivocally caused by human activities have already pushed the average global temperature up 1.1 degrees Celsius from its pre-industrial average and would have raised it zero point 0.5 degrees Celsius further without the tempering effect of pollution in the atmosphere, the report says. Tempering without temper. As ever, improved the hardness and elasticity by reheating and then cooling it, act as neutralizing countertone. That means that even as societies move away from fossil fuels, temperatures will be pushed up again by the loss of those airborne pollutants. Scientists warn that a rise of more than 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average could trigger runaway climate change with catastrophic impacts. Trigger runaway, deadly, out of control, runaway, lose, out of control, runaway climate change with catastrophic impacts, such as heat so intense that people die just from being outdoors. Any further warming will also boost the intensity and frequency of heat extremes and heavy rainfall, as well as droughts in some regions. Droughts. Because temperatures fluctuate from year to year, scientists measure climate warming in terms of 20-year averages. We have all the evidence we need to show we are in a climate crisis, said three-time IPCC co-author Sonia Senvarnat, a climate scientist at Earth Zurich who doubts she will sign up for a fourth report. Policymakers have enough information. You can ask, is it a meaningful use of scientists' time if nothing is being done? The 1.1 degrees Celsius warming already recorded has already recorded has been enough to unleash disastrous, disastrous, disaster, disastrous, disastrous, disastrous weather. This year, heat waves killed hundreds in the Pacific Northwest and smashed records around the world. Wildfires, fueled by heat and drought, are sweeping away entire towns in the US West, releasing record carbon dioxide emissions from Siberian forests and driving Greeks to flee their homes by ferry. Every bit of warming matters. Every bit of warming matters, said IPCC co-author Ed Hawkins, a climate scientist at the University of Reading, Britain. The consequences get worse and worse as we get warmer. Greenland's ice sheet, Greenland's ice sheet is virtually certain to continue melting and raising the sea level, which will continue to rise for centuries to come as the oceans warm and expand. It is already too late to prevent these particular changes. The best the world can do is to slow them down so that countries have more time to prepare and adapt. We are now committed to some aspects of climate change, some of which are irreversible for hundreds to thousands of years, said IPCC co-author Tamsin Edwards, a climate scientist at King's College, London. But the more we limit warming, the more we can avoid or slow down those changes. We still have choices to make. Even to slow climate change, even to slow climate change, the report says the world is running out of time. If the world drastically, if the world drastically cuts emissions in the next decade, average temperatures could still be up 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2014 and possibly 1.6 degrees Celsius by 2016 before stabilizing. If the world does not cut emissions dramatically but continues to current trajectory thảm kịch đừng đi không trajectory course current trajectory, the rise could be 2.0 degrees Celsius by 2060 and 2.7 degrees Celsius by the century's end. The Earth has not been that warm since the Pliocene epoch roughly 3 million years ago, when humanity's first ancestors were appearing and the oceans were 20 meters higher than they are today. It could get even worse if warming triggers feedback loops that release even more climate warming carbon emissions, such as the melting of Arctic permafrost or the dieback of global forest. Under these high emission scenarios, Earth could broil, Earth could broil at temperatures 4.4 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial average by 2081. Grill. We have already changed our planet. We have already changed our planet, and some of those changes, we have already changed our planet, and some of those changes we will have to live with for centuries and millennia to come, said IPCC co-author, a climate scientist at Imperial College London. The question now, he said, was how many more irreversible changes could be avoided. We still have choices to make. Wow. It is so hot right now. It's so hot right now. Like it's now August 2021. August, you know that usually there's songs in the past saying that August is the autumn, is the beginning of the autumn. But now right now, the temperature in Hanoi is around 38 to 40 degrees Celsius, and we need to stay indoor. We need to stay under the AC almost the whole day. Can you believe it? In the past, like even in the peak month of December, like maybe in June or July. So I only need to open the AC, air condition, the air conditioner during the night, and it's okay for me during the daytime. But right now, it's hardly to stay indoor and outdoor without the AC. It's so hard. It's so harsh. The weather is so extreme. It's so hot here right now. And in the winter in the past, the winter we need to wear layer and by layer. But now the winter in Hanoi is so. It's just some 15, 16 or 20 degrees Celsius. So we can feel significantly how the climate change. And right now we are seeing so many so many catastrophes happening around the world, in China, in the US, in the Europe, and here in yeah, the storms are coming in the stormy season. And wow, and can you believe it, like there's and the sea level is rising, and the Arctic ice are melting. Arctic ice is melting, so everything is so extreme. And the sound, so the United Nations, all they want to do is to sound a dire warning. They sounded a dire warning of the climate change, and they call for the stop of using coal and fossil fuels. The longer they use it, the very dangerous the climate change can be. So that's the first call. So they blame it for the humans' activities for sure of using the coal and the fossil fuels for all the industries, and just by stopping it, else we'll be facing with lots of like yeah, tragedies. And coming back to the irreversible, so the first action to be taken with the fossil fuels, and what are more about the other activities that if not be done today, it will be irreversible in the future. I think like the way we need to plant more trees, we need to protect the forests. Yeah, we need to balance between buildings and trees, and of course for all the industry we need to find a replaceable and clean energies. So right now we are thinking about Tesla, of electricity, cars, and hydrogen energy. So yeah, I'm not a scientist. I'm just a normal people and can feel a normal person, and I can feel the climate is changing over the 30 years since the first day I set on the planet. And as said, like all the scientists, they are forecasting that by 2040 the degree will increase like 1.5 degree, and by 2060 it can 1.6. And you know that accompanying with the increase of the planet's degree will be coming with lots of consequences about the sea levels, about the wildfires, about all the weather extremes, weather about all the catastrophes. So we are so let's wait for the conference this November in Scotland, Glasgow, to see if all the nations they to see the pledges of all the nations and how they can commit to stop this. So believing in all the governments, nations, and from my end, plant more trees, use less electricity as much as I can, and be an advocate to protect the environment. So please join me in this journey. So, okay. So thank you for joining me today for day 15. I think it's a surprising live stream because I haven't planned for it. But like life, it's full of surprises, right? That is how we call it life. So thank you very much for joining me in this call. And if you are interested, let's take up this challenge with me so that you can gain lots of benefits of doing so. So, kids from Hanavina, mwah. See you tomorrow or someday in the future for day 16. Bye.